Hey, what's up? Austin here. I'm gonna be reviewing my edit for The Send in Grand Rapids. I had the privilege to direct and edit the short film, and I just wanted to break down my edit. So let's get into it.
What the heck? What are you doing here? Coming to The Send, naturally. I didn't know you were gonna be here. What the heck?
Yeah, so tell us about you guys. Like, what do you guys do?
I'm just trying to get to know Jesus more and encounter him today.
Yeah.
My name is Isanam, and I'm a missionary kid from Thailand.
I don't really know what to expect.
I just have a burning passion for missions, and I just want to be activated.
And how did you guys hear about the Send?
I went last year with her, with our church, and then this is her sister.
It's my first time.
It's The Send. We're just out here selling merch, highest quality in game. You know how it is. It's sweet. You should buy some.
The youth today is very passionate and very driven. I said if they take it and run with it 100%, just do what God is calling you to do.
This room, people willing to respond, to take responsibility, saying yes to taking action. And I think so many of you need to go to the nations and bring the light of Jesus Christ to them. Just go all in.
Nothing else fills you like Jesus does, and just having friends and a church to go to and people that surround you that love Christ as much as you do, like, it's everything.
We're going to lift what I believe could be one of the loudest roars that Grand Rapids has ever heard. We believe that what we're about to shout is going to open something up on the earth that is going to make way for a youth movement to sweep across this region and touch the nations of the earth. That this shout is for those children that will be in permanent families someday. This shout is for those unreached people. They're going to hear the gospel someday. This shout is for our high schools to encounter Jesus. This shout is for our universities. So 1, 2, 3.
So first things first, Danny Bryan asked me to come down to Grand Rapids for this year's Send and film and make like the short film like recap video. I've worked with The Send before, love their team, love everybody on their leadership, just what they're all about. Just the events that they put on, they're dynamic, they're diverse, like there's so much to it that I just truly enjoy. So super honored and humbled to be asked to be a part of this and play a small part in it. The inspiration was from the jump, heavily influenced by Harry Styles' tour short film.
I skipped my last anthropology class to try to get tickets.
In a family.
Very documentary style, run and gun vlog, great beautiful cinematography, pacing, there's narrative in there, there's his songs, there's emotion, there's not a lot of visual effects and that kind of artistry, which I love, but that's just not my style. And so I really wanted to go for like a documentary style, like run and gun vlog, I guess. I hate the word vlog these days because it kind of degrades the doc style work in my opinion, but it's the best word I have for like how to articulate what I do, I guess. So I really went into it with the idea of how I wanted it to look. I didn't have the edit necessarily in mind from the jump, and it was really kind of an unraveling, like as Danny and I would talk, like we would figure out okay, this part would be great to capture this. I'm gonna get obviously tights, mediums, medium wides, wides, all that stuff. I'll get to the lenses in a second because I know I've gotten a lot of feedback about what lens did I use, how did I get that look. As far as documenting, I really wanted to get like a very wide, diverse catalog of footage. So a lot of emotion, a lot of stage, hands, interviews, you know, narrative parts that I could put in and intertwine within the video. So I had my Sony FX3. I had the top handle attached. I have a Rode NTG2 shotgun. And then the lens that we rented for this was the Atlas Orion 50mm 2x squeeze anamorphic with blue streaks. I loved it. I mean, I figured I'd go with the 50 because with 2x squeeze, it actually is, it's a compression of a 50mm, but it's the width of a 25. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler. So I knew that in an arena, I didn't want to go for like a 24 because I still wanted to get tights, and I'm shooting in 4K so I can crop. And I also didn't want to go for like I guess I could have gotten away with like a 65, but definitely not a 100. So I used that 50mm for literally everything. Minus a couple clips, like I used my 8mm fisheye for like a top to bottom like tilt shot from the top of the arena. There were a couple like dolly shots during Bethel's set. Actually, one of the guys, I think his name's Jordan, World of Jordy, shout out you. Homie crushed it on the gimbal. Literally taught him like how to run a gimbal that day, and he just kept like dollying back and forth in the arena with a 35 prime, like 1.4, crushed it. But I took that dolly shot on the gimbal with a 35 and then just keyframed. So I got that like classic like elevation worship music video dolly shot where they do the dolly movement and the frame, the zoom at the same time. It's the poor man's way to do it. But I love the way it turned out. You know, when we're limited on budget, limited on team, you got to find a way to make it look good. That's really the lensing that I used, and my VHS. I also use this. This is my handy cam from literally when I was born. My parents bought this when I was a kid, and it still works. I literally found it in my mother's basement. Let's see if it gets in focus or not. There we go. And so I buy tape for this and found a battery at like a local battery store and just run around with this. And it's great to get little B-roll and little moments just to punch in. So I've got a couple of sequences in there that have the VHS in there. So I took, like I said, a lot of inspiration from that documentary style tour vlog from Harry Styles. And I can't remember the director and editor of that, but their whole team crushed it. And I really wanted to make something like that. And so did Danny, the client, wanted that too. I'm kind of get into this here. I broke this edit down in about 5 parts. And I really wanted to take like a basic narrative structure of your introduction to where your setting is, your people, and resolve kind of in a similar manner. And then I wanted to take the viewer on like an emotional journey as well. So, you know, we have highs, we have some lows, we have funny moments, we just have like random moments. And again, I'm not going for like a film like narrative structure. I'm going for like a hybrid of like, I wanted the emotion to come up and go down, and they're just to be dynamic. So it's not just, I have really moved away from like in my beginning days last year, like just doing a montage of clips with a dope song, with no narrative, with no structure, no organization. It was just like an A-roll, selects reel with the song, and then call it good. And so obviously, as people evolve in their filmmaking abilities and interests, you know, storylines and structures, all that stuff comes out. So I have part 1, I wanted to open up. I love opening up really anything that I work on with like a raw moment, just to establish. And so it brings the viewer in like right out of the gate. It's not like this super high production where it feels disconnecting. It's like, okay, this is a relatable moment, it's raw, and then we can go into like the production part. So part 1.
What the heck? What are you doing here? Coming to the sand, naturally. I didn't know you were gonna be here. What the heck?
So that moment was fun because I had just finished interviewing like a couple people and just asking them questions, where they're from and whatnot. And as Danny and I were walking, or Jordan and I were walking away, I saw these girls like having this moment, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Hit record and just like whipped my camera into place and just started tracking this. So that's why it's like kind of not perfectly stable. I was still like trying to get my shot, but thankfully it worked. And it was a great little moment, because it's like, what are you doing here? Like this reuniting of friends. And it's like, well, I'm at the Send, duh, so are you. Then I go into, Danny put the titling in, just establishing the arena that we were in. Did rule of thirds with 235:1 anamorphic aspect ratio. Really just wanted to paint the picture of like what the experience is like coming in. So it's not just, again, like this concert montage video. This is like a whole experience thing. And this is the part of the interviews. I love the bokeh in the background, like just absolutely beautiful triangular bokeh back there. And then character development. I know it's not really a thing per se, but like I tried and I want to do more of this as I do more of these videos, is to find a couple characters and kind of follow them along their journey of like when they got there, what they're doing in the moments, and then like after, and like 3 characters or something. So I found these homies here, and this homie here, and big believer in leading lines, like right there, just run and gun. If you know the basics, and I'm still learning the basics, I'm a very basic videographer, I guess. I don't want to call myself a cinematographer, but like I'm trying to use cinematography as much as I can in my run and gun doc style stuff, so it has like just a look to it, right? So leading lines, rule of third, right where his eye is, shooting into the shadow side, and this was like, he was already there. We didn't ask him to move or anything, so it was kind of a happy accident, but like placing my camera down there so the leading lines hits his eyes, just something to look out for. But he's there, and then he ends up showing up. I ended up finding him in the arena, and he's like, oh, there he is. Where is he? All the way freaking back here. And just like has this look of approval, like, yep, love it, kind of thing. And then these folks that were right here, he talks about like,
about the set. I went last year with her, with our church, and then this is our sister. So
My first time.
First time. He had gone last year with his church, and then I pull them back into the shot right here with like their experience, like that connection, and then right back engaged into the event, like, and just like this very faint like keyframed zoom. And so yeah, so that's kind of like and then I have these girls here, these ladies. I'm like walking around interviewing Jordan and I, and then I find these older gals, and we're like, hey, can we interview you? And they chuckled and they said, why is it? Because we're old? It's because we're old. And I was like, well, of course it is. Like, you have a different perspective, and like you're around a bunch of us like our age. I mean, I'd love to hear your perspective on why you're here, what you think, all this stuff. And they just shared some bomb nuggets in it. And then found them later on as well, and they were in here. So another shot of them. So like keeping your eye on like who you interview, and then kind of, it's so tough. Like, I'm not saying like I'm gonna do this perfectly every time, but like keeping an eye on who you interview, and then finding them somehow within the arena throughout the night, and just getting extra B-roll of their moments, and like them smiling or like waving as you pass by because they remember you, or like they had said, oh, I just can't wait to experience God's glory in this place. And then 3 hours later you're filming and they're just like experiencing God's glory. Like, you're not just telling the story, you're like showing the story. And so that's what I tried to go for with character development, if you will. So moving on to part 2, picking up pacing, really establishing like visually and narratively, like where people are at, both in place and in their minds with coming here. These little like punch-in moments with this chick doing merch. It was like not related to the interviews, but it was like a quick interruption just to keep things moving and engaging, and just a stylistic thing that I like. I like the circle behind her head here, kind of like a halo kind of thing. Cool. This is that one 8mm lens that I use to really like do this tilt down shot. And then I just like, I think I did some, let me see. Yeah, I think I did like, yeah, zoom. I did a zoom out. So I started tight and then I pulled out because I wanted to kind of hit the banner, LED banner up top there, and then I pulled out. So that's the other lens that I used. And then going into this build up, grabbed a hype moment like raw audio, again, punch in, interrupt the narrative in the song. And then with the music, I took the instrumental from Ryder's music, the Without You song, and then layered it with the actual song with lyrics right at the drop.
Just do what God is calling you to do.
And I love the contrast of the old ladies here and these chicks like going bananas. Like the age contrast, just, it sat well with me. Just hype stuff. This is that gimbal like dolly shot I was talking about earlier. With the zoom, love that look. Really just wanted to get, again, like a very dynamic shot category. So wides, tights, emotions, movement, contrast obviously in colors, foreground, background, and then the bokeh and lens flares in this lens were just great. So I really tried to get our money's worth with like filming as much into the light as possible. Again, different heights and angles, beautiful bokeh and lens flares right there, same thing, where the flares meet and then transition into more movement. This was shot on obviously the 50, and then I did a keyframe zoom out on that to like show the width of everything. And this is where we transition into part 4. This is where we start to bring things down. I did like a filtered, a keyframe or like automated filter. So, and all the audience response stuff, like the crowd cheers, are all replaced just for clean audio purposes. Like I rarely ever use crowd cheers that are raw unless I have to, but I don't think I ever do. I always replace them with samples. But then obviously like raw moments from a video clip I'll use live. They just sound better. So I filtered that with an EQ and then did some reverb to transition into this Lord of the Harvest instrumental that I got from Circuit Rider's band. So matching like the filtered crowd audio with the zoom out.
Nothing else fills you like Jesus does, and just having friends and a church to go to and people that surround you that love Christ as much as you do, like it's everything.
So bringing those characters back into this, I think this was from this was from the beginning of the night or the day, the interview. So I took the raw audio stems that we got from Ty from Elevation, who is our audio engineering tracker in the back. He was tracking all, with redundancy systems, all of our raw audio stems. And so I grabbed all of those like the night of, dumped them on my hard drive, had it in my Logic template, and then cut out certain sections. So like this moment of Andy Bird speaking, I wanted to grab that section and then cut that out, and then added a lot of pre-delay to some arena style reverb. So it's very clear audio with like a wide arena image. And so I've been doing a lot of engineering, like audio engineering, for like way longer than I've been doing video. So that I have a really good understanding of like how I want to shape sound. and mix and all that kind of stuff. So that helps when I'm editing and like able to kind of reimagine certain things, I suppose.
Rapids has ever heard. We believe that what we're about to shout is going to open something up on the earth that is going to make way for...
So just a lot of emotion again, right? Like mediums, using foreground of this dude here with his arms, and this chick is in focus. This girl, it's always hard to like capture emotion without ruining a moment, because that's never our job. Like I've learned, like, it is not our job to ruin a moment for a shot. You know, I'm constantly thinking like what's worth shooting, and then like what's worth letting go and not shooting, because not everything's worth shooting. You know, if there's a moment where all you can do is get the camera kind of up close and shoot, but it's a very vulnerable moment, it's probably not worth it, because it would make people uncomfortable. But if you can kind of like snipe the shot, or like set it up, or if you're like be human and like feel what's going on in the moment, and if it's worth capturing or not, or if you do, is it going to disrupt and make things weird? Sometimes it will, whatever. You know, we're human too, and we'll make mistakes. So it's like, you don't live or die by the rule, but it's definitely worth considering what's worth shooting and what's not. So this was obviously a moment that I was like, I'll grab it. Keep my camera tucked for like emotional moments, and especially with this one, this girl was a paramedic on site, and everybody was like praying around her, and she was bawling her eyes out and stuff. Like, I'm not gonna be like, you know, like National Geographic. You got to be back. You got to kind of hide. You got to like not disrupt the scenery. And so I kept my camera tucked there and just rolled and just kind of pulled focus and just kind of looked around, but left the lens there. But I wasn't like, my eyes weren't like locked on her. I was just like disengaged from her, while I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get this moment. And then in post, I grabbed just that moment of contemplation, and then that resolve of like, oh, thank God. This was shot on the Sony. I did my best to color match, whatnot. And then this is where things change, is like building tension, because how do we get out of this like
movement to sweep across this region and touch the nations of the earth? And this shout,
right? Like, how do you get out of this like lulled kind of down moment? Well, luckily, Andy had a very like pinnacle peaking moment in his speech that I was able to ride and rise with until we hit a climax part, and he counts. At all the Send arenas, he counts 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3. And then you lift your shoes, and it's like this climax, like big moment where the whole arena like lifts their shoes up, and is like a declaration of like, we're gonna go to the nations and like preach the gospel. And fun fact, it does not stink in the arena like people think it would, because the arena has great AC, and you just, so don't worry next time if you see this now and you're like, I'm gonna go to the one in Nashville or whatever, it doesn't stink, so it's okay. So starting to build tension, pull-ins with movement. I use some more emotion here, more movement, a dramatic pull in there. And this is like one of my favorite shots, is this like, I walked up to the drummer during Bethel's set and just like got this sick moment like right before he crashed, and I used that to drop, did a blank screen, and then like dropped right into this moment where we did statistics and like big numbers of like what was going on, what happened there. So I'll show that part to you, the tension building.
people, they're going to hear the gospel someday. This shout is for our high schools to encounter Jesus. This shout is for our universities. So 1, 2, 3.
And pacing and timing is like, as a drummer, as a musician, as an audio engineer, as a videographer, like I'm a stickler about pacing and timing of shots and beats and whatnot, and movement with sounds, like in hallelujah, like Carrie goes into that like hallelujah with her hands, you can see it here. And then like on that snare hit, it just like crashes and cracks like right into the next clip. And so I'm always looking for ways to like use movement to accentuate sound, and sound to accentuate movement, right? Like some of our favorite films and moments are, or like some of the biggest tension moments in horror films are when you have like, you know, like a creepy doll head like tilts and stuff, and you hear like fingers on like the piano strings or whatever they're called, like dwindling down, and it's just like, oh, it's just like you can create this wild experience if you match visuals, movement, and audio somehow. And so it's all in the details, baby. More movement here. This shot of Lindy, I love this shot where she's just like freaking out. More hits, feet. I'm trying to capture as much texture and different things other than faces, hands, and all the same like classic shots. And so feet are a big thing. They say a lot about like people's excitement. So during hype moments, I'll use that. I mean, I'm not gonna film feet during like a slow song, but you can definitely capture a lot of emotion by filming feet during a hype moment, because people are probably gonna be dancing or stomping or whatever, right? So that's a fun thing to shoot during hype moments. Facial expression, he's like, I can't believe this is happening. And then I'm going into like pacing on every beat of this song. There's the old ladies from before. Cody, the signs, clapping on the beat. The hand shot is one of my favorite shots too, because like you have, 15,000 people in these arenas, and you have all this stuff happening around, and it can feel very grandiose and just massive, and almost as a viewer you could, I'm sure, feel disconnected. At least I'm just thinking like I can. And so like to be able to punch in on like a small detail like hands touching, like same with the feet, it just pulls in another detail of experience that I guess I just wanted to show people. So, and then there's our homie from I Just Have a Burning Passion for Missions. He's that guy there. I love that shot too. The movement with his head turning in. So I'm going the opposite way around, and it's kind of like a parallax. The classic Christopher Nolan. It doesn't look that cool at all, but I'm just saying like that's a direction where we're both going the opposite way. I love the light on his hair, his face. This girl with like a sign of like, I can't believe this is happening. Bethany going bananas up there, like cutting right before she like steps into her next thing. More wides of just like crowd going crazy, and then just this big montage right until this release here. And then fake crowd cheering down there, and then resolves with this like one shot thing here, which I love doing as well, because it's just like I don't want to, when something resolves, I don't want to like have more cuts. I just finished the video with a lot of cuts in a montage to build more tension, and the release I want just like a singular shot. So like my wedding films, I'll do like this really fun hype ending, and then at the end I'll resolve it with like a raw audio, raw moment, colored a little bit, colored of course, and then it's just a one shot. Like I'm not doing more takes and cuts and more editing. So that's just the way I've found stylistically I like to resolve things. And then the animation outro. So that's really it. I mean, it's simple when I look back at it. It was not simple in the moment going into the edit. I think next time, knowing what the arenas are like, knowing what the events are like, and just having done a lot more production post the send of this year, I'm a very big believer in shot listing, pre-storyboard, like storyboarding, planning out the edit. If you know what the event's going to be like going into it with like an idea of what you want it to look like on the back end, just a framework. And then, that doesn't mean you're locked into it, but it definitely means that you have a guide, and you're not just like blindly shooting and all of a sudden you're sitting down to edit in a different state a week later and you're like, I don't have anything I want. I don't have any of the shots that I wish I had. I wish I had this shot, to where it's like okay, if you're doing a little bit of the work and you're like reviewing other people's work and you're thinking of like, okay, what songs are they going to be playing there? Like, what do I want to just sit there with your eyes closed? Like, what do I want, like visualize, what do I want it to look like? And you're like, oh, I want this tight motion of like hands going there. So how's the camera going to interact with that motion? And then you storyboard that and shot list it. And then you have something going into it where, you know, next time if I was ever asked to direct this again, like I'd go in with more anamorphics or at least all the same profile of cameras and lenses, because that makes post so much easier. You're not converting from B-raw to ProRes, and you're taking C-Log and converting everything to, you know, like just do the same. Can I get it? Budget, personnel, all that stuff it's all dependent on that. But finding ways to do as much pre-production and forethought on the front end before an event, I've just found is like the way to go. So hopefully this helps somebody at least. I mean, there's so many guys that have gone before me and that are so much further than I am in this world. And I've learned from them through videos like this. And I just want to give back what little I've learned from other people and have experienced personally. And I just love this. I have an obsession with film and storytelling visually and cinematography. So if this helps somebody, love for you to leave a comment on what part you like the most, like it and share it. And yeah, I'll probably start doing more of these, but thanks for coming along the journey. See ya.
What the heck? What are you doing here? Coming to the sand, naturally. I didn't know you were gonna be here. What the heck?
Yeah, so tell us about you guys. Like, what do you guys do?
I'm just trying to get to know Jesus more and encounter him today.
Yeah. My name is Isanong, and I'm a missionary kid from Thailand.
I don't really know what to expect.
I just have a burning passion for missions, and I just want to be activated.
And then how did you guys hear about the Send? I went last year with her, with our church, and then this is her sister. So.
My first time.
It's the Send. We're just out here selling merch, highest quality in the game. You know how it is. It's sweet. You should buy some.
The youth today is very passionate and very driven. I said if they take it and run with it 100%, just do what God is calling you to do.
This room, people willing to respond, to take responsibility, saying yes to taking action. And I think so many of you, you need to go to the nations and bring the light of Jesus Christ to them. Just go all in.
Nothing else fills you like Jesus does, and just having friends and a church to go to and people that surround you that love Christ as much as you do, like, it's everything.
We're going to lift what I believe could be one of the loudest roars that Grand Rapids has ever heard. We believe that what we're about to shout is going to open something up on the earth that is going to make way for a youth movement to sweep across this region and touch the nations of the earth. And this shout is for those children that will be in permanent families someday. This shout is for those unreached people that are going to hear the gospel someday. This shout is for our high schools to encounter Jesus. This shout is for our universities. So 1, 2, 3.